Alright, I'm going to continue with Chapter 2. I originally thought I'd get up to about slide 32 with that first video, but I didn't quite make it. That's okay, we'll just pick up here on slide 19, where it says work with field properties. We're going to talk about different properties of a field. The data type we talked a little bit about already. The caption, there's validation rules. Field size, a whole bunch of different properties, and I'll talk about them. I'll point them out in Access. Actually, some more properties required. All of these we won't be using, and I'll skip over the ones that we're not going to be using. We did talk about the relationships already. I had that in the first video. I'll go a little bit more over that in this one. I'll talk about referential integrity. Actually, I'm going to go do that right now. Back into Access. Okay, referential integrity. This is another one of those important, we'll talk about this the whole semester, an important concept, referential integrity. What that means is, once you have your tables created like we have here, and you're adding data, to let's say we're going to add a new account. So we start adding data to this. We got to put in a new account ID. We're going to put in the customer ID who actually opened this account. Okay, so what referential integrity says, we cannot enter a value into this foreign key field unless that value already exists over here in the customer table. That makes sense, right? You're not going to open up account and say customer ID 0007 is opening this account if that customer doesn't exist already. Okay? So that's what referential integrity helps you do, is make sure that the value exists over here in the primary table before you can enter that value into the foreign key field. I'm going to get rid of this line here for a second. Create it again. The way you actually create a relationship here in the relationship window is you take your primary key field, hold the left mouse button down and drag it over and just drop it right on that field, which is the foreign key field in the related table. Just take a quick check, make sure these two fields match. That's how tables are related in a relational database, is through this common field. It's through this primary key, foreign key relationship that makes this all work. Here's reinforced referential integrity. Of course, this is Access. It might look a little different in other database systems, but most of the other database systems have this concept, referential integrity. You can cascade updates and deletes at this point. I would suggest only cascade updates. What that means is, if for some reason the customer ID field changed a value for a customer, cascade updates say go change it in all the related records also. So if we change 0007 to 0077, go change them all over here in the related fields too. Cascade deletes, I would suggest not to do that. It's a little more serious, because that says if you delete a customer, it's going to go delete all their accounts too. Sometimes you don't want to do that. So that could be a mass delete, and you really need to think through that before you would click or check this box. So most of the time we would just check these first two, click create, and we have our one-to-many relationship. Okay, back to the slides here. It's pretty simple to do in Access. Here's the cascading updates and deletes that I just showed you. Indexing. There is a property on fields you can say to index a field or not. All that does, you don't want to index all the fields because there is some overhead involved in the database to have an index on a field, but all it does is provide quick sorting. You can sort on more than the primary key. The primary key gets an index automatically, and then you've got to choose whatever fields need an index. What this does is it speeds up the retrieval of data. So that's what indexing does. These next slides are about importing data from an Excel spreadsheet. So all these next 7 or 8 slides show you how to do that. Again, I'm going to skip that because that is done in the hands-on exercise, and it's really easy to go through that and see how that works. Okay, types of relationships. One-to-many is the most common. One-to-one, we won't really get into much of that until later in the semester, but you can have one-to-one relationships between tables. Many-to-many, that's actually when you're in design, when you're designing a database, if you run into two tables that have a many-to-many relationship, you will break them apart into two one-to-many relationships. So we'll get more on that later too, but you can't implement a many-to-many relationship in a relational database system. Just can't do it. I did a lot of this with the relationship window already. Showed you how to do these relationships. Yeah, this is the same example that I did in the last video. Sorry, I got a little out of order there. There's the relationship window. This little infinity symbol stands for the many side. The many side is always where the foreign key is, so that's a good way to remember the many side of the relationship. A customer can have many accounts. Each account is opened by a single customer. Okay, so that gets us to the query section. And that's going to be another video. I'll do the third video on queries. Alright.